What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing the season finale of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 3, Episode 8. And it's called Chapter 28, Sabrina is Legend.
And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending because we are going to go through our recap roundups, our best moments, our best lines of the episode. So be sure to stick around for that.
We also have our contest going on right now for a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card and a pop socket. To enter, just rate and comment on our iTunes page, and you'll be entered in the draw. We're extending this contest to the end of Riverdale Season 4, so we have lots of time. As always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the episode, yo.
Let's get into it. The season finale.
What'd you think?
It was good. It was really good. There are a couple of things that I think I would have wanted done differently, but
yeah,
I'm still satisfied with what we got and very impressed with how it all wrapped up. What did you think?
I liked it too. I think that we alluded to it last podcast, like kind of the way that things went were a little expected, like with the time travel side of it. But I did really enjoy the episode. It was super entertaining to watch. You're right. I think especially when it comes to time travel, I always get confused. So I think that there were a few plot holes that I want to discuss to see if they're actually plot holes. Like, I would love to for the comment, like the listeners to jump in and be like, nah, that doesn't make any sense, or it does make sense. Because I feel like I did catch everything, but some things didn't make sense at the end of it all. And I feel like you always kind of get confused when it comes to like time warp timelines. And I feel like they tried to throw a few things at us and we're like, okay, I guess we're going to go with it, but I don't know if I want to go with it without talking about it.
I think really quickly too, I think I wanted a bit more collateral damage. You can't just get everything like everything just can't work out perfectly for you because you time traveled and you have a magical egg. And I think I would have liked a little bit more of that. Just so that the stakes were higher and like it does feel more real, like they fucking time traveled, but everything just got like a reset button. And so I was like, okay, so the biggest pretty much good.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that didn't change was Agatha or Dorcas still dies. Like, she's still gone.
Who really cares about her? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I thought she was kind of cool, and she didn't really get the death that I feel like she deserved. Yeah, so I'm kind of shocked that she's actually off the show.
That powerful moment, it wasn't really there, so it didn't really sink in for me. And so, yeah.
I'm sure maybe they'll cover it next year or next season. We'll see, because I mean, she was one of the weird sisters. It's not like she was like that stupid kid who ran away with the pagans or whatever.
But she also didn't. They didn't really develop her more.
No, they didn't. She was stoned for half a season. And they could have.
So, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, let's go into the episode. We'll take it down one by one and talk about little pieces. Okay. So it starts off with Ambrose telling a story as if it's like a storybook or like a fairy tale, and he's flipping the pages so the audience is watching it and hearing what happened basically as soon as what we watched last season. So he says, after, everybody's turned to stone, House of Morningstar falls. So that's, the Dark Lord and Lilith and Sabrina. And so that means that Caliban was able to take over hell. Then he says Caliban attacks the earth, but he fails because the pagans were too strong. And then while the people while they're above earth trying to kill the pagans, they lose. And then an army of angels destroys the rest of hell. Like, they literally go down into hell and destroy the rest of the demons who are like waiting there. And then the whole story kind of ends off with Sabrina still in the 9th layer of hell, still stuck in the wall where Judas was. And it starts off by saying something like, the only person that Sabrina could save is Sabrina herself, or something like that. And so it cuts to it actually happening in the 9th layer, and someone in a hood goes up to the statue and says something, and it unfreezes her, and it's obviously Sabrina from the future. So this, like, already right away, like, gets very confusing.
Yeah.
So she switches places with her future self. So the one that we saw last episode switches places with someone who comes from another future timeline, and now she's stuck in the wall. And basically she says, I was able to get out in one future timeline. I can't tell you how I did it, but you need to do it in your timeline, and then you need to come back and then switch places with me again. So then like everything will, the loops will be closed. So I was like, okay. I'm like, like I said, time travel is fucking confusing. And already I was like, this is going to get weird. So she goes straight to hell, like the main area, and she sees all the regalia, but everything is like fucked up. Like there's like everything looks like it's destroyed and there's nobody there. And so when she opens up the regalia like closet or whatever, all the guardians of the regalia come out. So it's like the guy who they found in the tree, it's the guy that they found in the tomb, the Vlad guy, whatever. They're all there. And she asks, like, what the hell happened here? And he explains that there was an attack from heaven. Everything got destroyed. There's no more demons left. But they stayed around because they're there to protect the regalia. Like, that's like their life dream or whatever. Their like goal in life.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, I'll take these because like at least they're powerful. And then we'll figure out what to do next. So then it cuts to Sabrina going home. Like to actually going to like her old place, and like everyone has like been dead. Like it's exactly what we saw last episode. Everybody's kind of like where they were before. So like Agatha and Prudence's bodies were found in that like little living room area, and she finds like Zelda. She finds that Hilda never like rose from the dead. So everybody's kind of just basically skeletons, and everything's kind of overgrown with like leaves and shit.
Yeah. And so time has passed, right?
Yeah.
Is that
exactly? Like 30 plus years, like the decades apparently have passed, and she's like, what the hell's going on? At one point in time, she does go into the kitchen. She opens up one of the closet doors and she sees like the Batty Bat sand. And already I was like, okay, this is going to come around later, because she pulls it out and she's like, oh, okay, like random. The Batty Bat shit is in this closet. Fine. She puts it away. And then at one point in time, she goes into the closet, or she goes into the fridge and opens it as if she's like going to make herself a snack. Like, I'm like, it's been 30 years. There's nothing in there that's fresh and clean. So anyway, as she's in the fridge, she hears a noise. She goes over, and it's like these zombie plant monster human beings, and they try to attack her. As she like hides in an area, she hears like slashing and murdering, and she opens up the doors and the zombie people are dead, and those guys are standing, the regalia guys are standing over them saying like, we're gonna protect you because you have the regalia, like this is what we're gonna do. So they're gonna follow her on this mission now. And she's like, okay, cool. So then she goes to the carnival, and then like in a corner she sees the green man, like the gigantic statue, the one that swallowed Harvey whole. And she sees these zombie humans like just pouring blood at the feet. Like they keep coming. And while she's watching this, like there's creepy music and shit.
What did you think about zombies? Like we finally get to see like we got to see zombies in this world. What did you think about that?
I mean, I thought they were kind of creepy, and I do like the fact that they weren't like, oh, I'm like falling apart zombies. They were like they look like they could be fast and creepy and scary. Yeah. What did you think? Did you feel like it was extra?
I mean, I liked it. No, I really liked it. And I think they did such a good job with like this whole kind of world of fantasy, right? Like we got to see vampires this season. We got to see now zombies. There's a werewolf. Like they did a really cool job of incorporating like all these different creatures, like mythical creatures, and like making like sense still. And I liked it.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good for sure. So then while she's watching this in the corner, Ambrose kind of like grabs her from behind, and he's like, you come with me. And he takes her to the mines, which is where he's been hiding this whole time. So then he goes to the mines, and right off the top, Ambrose is like, why the fuck did you leave us? Like we needed you at like this time and you weren't there. And she's like, what the hell? Like you literally told me as a family to go and finish the regalia. And he's like, yeah, but we literally needed you and you like just never came back. And so he's trying to explain what happened. Like everybody basically took over like everything that we saw in the beginning of the episode. Yeah. And she has an idea because the egg, he was able to keep the egg safe the entire time. Like he's able to like hide it in the corner. It's like still fucking incubating in that fucking tank. I don't know how he has power down there, but sure. So then she's like, what about using this time egg somehow and going back in time to like figure this out? And he's like, that might work, but you need something that's just as powerful as the egg in order to like not get destroyed or for it to actually work. So let's pause here because I want
to ask you the question that I asked you offline.
Yeah.
So my first question at this moment watching the episode, I was like, what the fuck? Like, why would they only use the time traveling now? Like, they could have used it from time. They could have used it before, like when their powers were gone. They could have used it to go back in time to like get their powers back.
Right.
But then you like, no, they couldn't have done that because then they still need the regalia power. To like boost it or whatever it is. I don't know.
But the thing with me was like, if that was the case, then they should have put those two together in the first place. You know what I mean?
A long time ago.
Like, they should have aligned her mission with the fact that they didn't have any powers from the very beginning, being like, okay, well, we obviously need these pieces to make something that will help us out. But I guess they were also frantic, and plus, like, it was a pagan, so like they couldn't think about it. But so she comes up with it, and he's like, "True, what a good idea." He's like, "We need to go back to the academy and like enhance your power around those stones." But since like you've been gone, Blackwood has gone crazy, and now he stays there. He like lives in the academy. So she's like, okay, well, we'll see if we can figure this out. She runs and grabs the little jar that we saw like a few minutes ago in the house. She goes to grab the sand, which is a cool throwback to season 1. Like, that episode to me was still like to this day like such a standalone episode.
Which one?
The Batty Bat one, the one where she is like in the dream sequence.
That was fucked up.
So for it to come back all the way back around season 3, episode 10, I was like, good for you guys. Like, you actually trying
you guys made it work.
Yeah, you like literally like kept continuity, which I was very impressed with. So it cuts back to the academy. And right away, she like hears Blackwood. He's like mumbling to himself. He's crazy. And so she calls him out. And right away, she tries to throw the Batty Bat thing, but it can't open. And it's a really cool sequence because he ends up disarming her, like throwing the Batty Bat thing away. And then he freezes her. Ambrose tries to come and kill him. He freezes Ambrose, and then he snaps Sabrina's neck. And then he snaps Ambrose's neck. And like, that's kind of how it holds and ends for like a good 5-10 seconds. And you're like, what the fuck just happened? Do they have to go back in time again? Like, what that, like, at one point in time, I was like, please don't make this like even more complicated. Please don't bring another fake, you know,
layer
like future Sabrina. Like I didn't want that. But then right away, he's already dreaming, and Batty Bat's like literally like sitting on his dick. She's like, like he's already fucking screaming.
Got you.
So then she kind of like takes him to the corner. So this is actually quite important because this means in this current timeline, Blackwood is now being tortured by Batty Bat. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. Correct? Like. So we have to be like, that is one thing that I definitely like we need to talk about later.
Because she has a hold on him right now because she's in his dreams or whatever.
Yes. So anyway, that happens. Then she's like, okay, we're going to spin this motherfucking thing. She like gets she goes back all the way back in time. It was kind of a cool scene. They create this like out of all, I guess, the materials, out of the silver coins, the crown and the bowl, they turn it into like a like swinging something or other, and like she goes back in time doing the spell. She goes back in time to the point where Blackwood has just gotten into the academy. Like, he just broke in. It's like where I think it's where the cheerleaders were, where he was trying to break into the door. So they were trying to get their powers back. So he's just breaking into the academy, and he's about to go to the Spellman house with Agatha to kill everybody there and find the eggs and find, I guess, the children as well. So that's what his current goal is in this brand new timeline that she just reset. question number 1, why didn't she go back further?
You're right.
Do you think that there was an option there? Maybe not. I guess not.
I mean, to your point, though, I wish they explained that. Like, I wish there's certain parts where they do cover up their loopholes and they explain it. Like the whole regalia thing. Like, the time travel egg needs the power of the regalia to like start up and whatever. So, okay, fine. I'll buy that. You guys wrote like a reason to that. But this one, they didn't. And I don't understand why they wouldn't have just, you're right, like gone further back and then could have like saved themselves even more and like saved Dorcas or whoever, Agatha, whoever it was.
Dorcas.
I don't know. Well, I wish there was an explanation to that a little bit more. Like, oh, it only takes us back so much, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like, I wish that the next explanation with Ambrose and Sabrina, she's like, this is not going to take us all the way. So we just have to be prepared for wherever it takes us. You know what I mean? And just like try to do it from there. But then I was like, but why can't you just use the regalia again to go back in time even further? I don't know. I guess I was just asking for too much, but whatever. Cause so we're saying she goes back in time, and at that point we have to remember there's like 3 major things that have already happened in the timeline, so we don't forget. Number 1, Blackwood is now unkillable because Lilith gave him the Cain, the mark of Cain. So he's still unkillable. The Dark Lord is now separated from him as well. Lilith is also pregnant, technically, in this current storyline, and Dorcas is still dead. So we have to just assume that all those things have still occurred because it's taking us straight to that point in time, which is still pretty major things. Like, that means like a major character is already dead and Blackwood is unkillable, which is gonna probably come up again later on in the season, or next season. So then it cuts to the Spellman household, and right away she flashes in when Zelda has now been shot and she's still like being healed or whatever. That's what I mean. Like, Zelda's still unhealed. Like, she didn't go further back to when people like when shit really hit the fan. But so anyway, so she goes down into the morgue and she says to the zombie queen and she says to Prudence and Ambrose, like, we need to go, like, Blackwood is on his way here and he's gonna like fuck shit up, so we gotta dip. So she zaps them all to Dorian's. Okay, then she goes to find her friends. She goes and zaps to the garage, where everybody is, and then she brings them to Dorian's as well. So everybody is in the same space. Zelda wakes up at that moment in time and she's like, I know what to do now. And she's looking for Hilda, but Hilda is still not awake yet. So then she's like, I think I know how to figure this out. We're going to go to the Spellman grave, and whoever's brave enough to like stay there, we're going to like bring my sister back. So she calls on a brand new, I guess, leader or god or goddess, whatever, named Hecate. And it's the triple goddess. It's the goddess of witchcraft. And apparently it's like, she's been the basis of witchcraft since the very beginning. And I wrote down that it's surprising that they haven't been like praying to her this whole time, but I'm now reading it back saying she was the goddess of witchcraft, which means that the men probably weren't like involved in that goddess. You know what I mean? Right. So now that the women are having like their moment, like she can now like pray to this one specific goddess that can give her the power. So it's a really, really cool scene. Like, everybody's like, Miranda Otto, who plays Zelda, is like doing the 6th scene where she's like screaming to the heavens, saying this whole prayer, trying to get her sister back. And then sure enough, like right at that last moment, like the storm is brewing, everybody's looking and trying to get her back, and Hilda's like hand like pops out of the ground and she's okay. She's back from the dead. And so this is when everybody needs to kind of like reconvene. But again, like I said, this is when Blackwood would have gone to the house. Everybody is currently at the Spellman household. Like, all of the witches, like, everybody's still hanging out because they're there to support Zelda, right? So your assumption is that like he's not going to go into the house because he's already like, he's not going to be able to make it or whatever, right?
Right.
But I guess if we want to talk about timelines, maybe he showed up beforehand, before they got back to the house, before they got to the graveyard to bring Hilda back, but they never show that scene. So
yeah.
I kind of feel like that was a bit of a miss, that because I wanted to know that still happened. The fact that he still took the egg, the fact that he still had Agatha with him, the fact that he took the kids, like those are pretty major things.
Yeah,
that have happened.
You can't not show that. Like, how do you? We're sitting here wondering when the fuck did this happen, and then in the end of the episode, we see him with the egg and we see him with the twins, and you're like, right, okay, but when did this happen and how?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was the biggest miss of this episode. Like, now that we're talking about it, I'm like, yeah, they definitely never showed that. They never like explained how he got into the house, how he was able to take all those things, and then just like show back up where he needed to show back up at the very end of the episode.
Even the smallest line of like, even when they were doing the scene with him and he could be like, ha 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 ha, I stole the egg without them even noticing. Even something like that where you're like, oh, true, like he was still able to steal it, but there's no, it's like they shot that scene and like they never connected that scene to like the main episode's plot.
I wonder and hope that maybe they'll show it in the very beginning of next season to just start his storyline off.
To me, it feels like they missed it though. Like it feels lazy, and then they didn't want to answer that question.
Yeah, but like that's a huge question to
huge, of course.
Answer. So yeah, I was a little disappointed because they've been so tight on their storylines, they've been really tight in terms of making sure everything makes sense, that I'm surprised that they missed that. Like they wrote that scene in and like they didn't even explain it.
For sure, and that's why I'm the most shocked at that, because they did such a good job with tying up all these loose ends, but somehow the biggest scene and really the biggest cliffhanger for next season is left unanswered.
Exactly.
And that to me, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right.
It's tight a little bit. Anyway, so in this moment, everybody's good to go. Sabrina's like, okay, I'm gonna go find the real Wardwell because she's the last virgin technically, and that she's coming up with a plan. She's like, okay, I'm gonna use Wardwell, but like, we'll see how it goes. She's kind of looking in the corner with all the witches, and she's like, maybe I'll use them. And then Ambrose, Zelda, Hilda, and Prudence are now tasked to like put everybody to sleep in the town, which is like extra because like they literally all have like another fucking musical moment where they're all like singing to the rest of the town. So Ambrose, Hilda, Zelda, Prudence, they're all in a circle, and they're singing this song like, everyone in the world go to sleep now. So everybody passes out so they don't go to this carnival, because then that means that like they'll capture a virgin and like sacrifice to the green god, whatever. So cuts to the carnival. Pen's like, where is everybody? We told them there was going to be like free shit here. Like, what the hell? Why aren't they here? But everybody's sleeping, so obviously nobody shows up. And then Robin comes in with Wardwell. And she's gagged and she's tied up. And he's like, well, use her because she's the last virgin that I was able to scout. So you can use her. And he's like, okay, well then let's do this. So he's all excited. They do the whole ritual. They put her inside of it. At this point in time, did you think that it was going to be like they're actually just sacrificing this bitch because she's like, she fucking shot Zelda?
I definitely knew something was up, and then they had a plan, because it's like, girl, you got a second chance at saving the universe. Like, don't fuck it up. Like, do it the right way. You know?
And it was a really cool way to do it. So they put her in the wall, or they put her in the green man. They do the whole ritual. But as she's like getting like absorbed, the whole green man goes like brown, and then it starts to fall apart. It starts to turn into poison, whatever. They're like, what the fuck is happening? And then you realize that it's that witch. It's the one witch that is able to control like plants and like death and disease and shit. Yeah. And she's the one that her name is Pesta, and she glamored her to look like Wardwell. But then you also find that Robin was a glamour from Sabrina. So it actually was Sabrina the whole time.
That's sick, yeah.
So it was like a sick like double twist. Sabrina has her moment where she's like, bitch, what the fuck? The one thing I will say that I guess it's like a little tiny thing, but these pagans have been like so lit on like tracking down virgins and finding, like
You're
Harvey.
Right.
Yeah. But like they couldn't sense that this was the witches. Like, I'm kind of shocked that they were able to get tricked so easily by the witches.
That's the thing, right? Like, like you hype up these people the entire season and they're like this mega villain of the season.
Yeah.
And then it's literally a fucking glamour trick that gets you guys. Like that's
it's true.
To me
it's
a little
true.
again, it's like a little cheap
little
win.
weak.
It's like, bro, you did all this regalia. You're doing all these intense like storylines and twists and turns. And at the end of the day, you just do a glamour spell on these people.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you're right. They should be able to see through a glamour spell. Like, come on.
For sure.
The fucking bitch turned Hilda into a spider. Like, like, I'm sure they can sense when, like, something isn't right.
And it's true. Like, they keep talking about the great god Pan, the great god Pan. I'm like, what is this Pan fucking... You said like, it last episode, too. Like, he didn't do anything
He
this whole
did
time.
shit all.
Yeah. So, it really quickly shows, like, in this moment, as the whole plan is being revealed, that Sabrina put the real Wardwell to sleep. Like, she's passed out in her house and she erases her memory. So now we know that in this new storyline, she's not going to be a problem for the Spellman family. Like, she doesn't think that they're witches and she's not going to go and fucking shoot everybody. So in this moment, it's like it's a really cool scene. I'm kind of cutting it short, but the entire coven shows up and attacks all the pagans. They were like, drive them all out of our town and make sure like none of them are left here. So it's not even just like drive them out, but also like kill whoever you can catch. Because it was like a full out free for all. And so everybody kind of has like a moment of vengeance. The first one is Roz wanting to go and kill the Gorgon. And she's like, I'm going to go into the tent. I'm going to kill that bitch. And Harvey's like, no, I can do it because I'm like a man. And so he goes in and he was so cute. He was like, I've seen Clash of Titans. It worked for Perseus. It'll work for me. And I guess in that movie, he uses a mirror to see where the Gorgon is, because if you look into her eyes, you'll turn into stone and die. Yeah. So he tries to do that in the fucking tent. Right away, he sees her, but like the fucking mirror cracks in his hand, and she's like, "You think you can do that?"
I'm just
me?
like, Harvey, stop. Like, I get you trying to help, but like, you just can't do this right now. Like, you are not supposed to be in the ring. This is the third, fourth time that he's like tried to do something and failed, like miserably. Like, bro, just go away. Like, just at the carnival alone. Like, the carnival is not his place to like try to be a hero.
He needs to not go to the carnival. He can't even like bang that thing to like make it go up or whatever. He's just like a fail all across the board. So right in this moment, he's about to get attacked. He's about to get killed. And Roz comes in, of course, and saves the day, slices the girl's head off with a sword. And then she even says, she's like, oh, well, maybe we can use this head for like a future situation, because the Gorgon head can still turn people to stone if they look into the head. So it's like, that's the power it has. And I'm sure that'll come back around in another like episode or season. So then we get a sick moment with Hilda visiting Cersei. And so she's in her tent. She's like packing up and shit. And she's like, oh, hey, where are you going? Where do you think you're going? And Cersei's just like, I just want to go. But Hilda's like going off on her, because at this point in time, we're also assuming that Cerberus is dead. So Hilda is like in pain still. She's still like feeling that like, you fucking turned me into a spider and I killed my goddamn boyfriend. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Fuck you.
So she's like, let me show you my other talent. She's like, you told me that I didn't really have a lot of abilities. Well, one of my abilities is to do this. She pulls out
this part.
like a fake doll or whatever, like a thing doll, a voodoo doll, and she fucking like rips her to shit. Like,
the sound effects in this scene were like insane. She's like
intense.
It was
they were
hilarious.
So satisfying though, because like this bitch like literally ruined.
She's
her
like
life.
Being tortured. She's being so fucking tortured.
So she like snaps her arm, snaps her neck, snaps her legs. Like, it was a very crazy scene, and just like the contorting of that woman's body. I was like, holy shit, you guys are intense. But so basically, you know, she gets her vengeance. It was a really sick moment. I loved it so much. And then like she dies. And then the final one is with Pan, and he sees Zelda and Ambrose kind of in the distance, and they're coming after him. And he's like, didn't you forget that like I'm the great god Pan? He turns into Pan. And he's like, my eyes alone will make you go crazy. Like, you'll turn crazy once you like see my face or hear my voice or something. And she's like, yeah, that's fine. And then right in that moment, Prudence like comes from behind and like stabs him through the chest or whatever. So he gets killed.
Loved it.
Everybody's dead. It was such a sick moment. What a great way for the coven to come back together and destroy these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I was just like happy to see. It was very, very satisfying. So then it cuts back to the Spellman household and everyone's like cheersing. Everybody's happy. Everybody's good. And the sisters are basically like, okay, well, I guess like we're done now. And does that mean that you're going to be going back to hell? And she was like, yeah, I guess like that's going to be my thing now. Like I'm going to be the queen of hell. And it was a really emotional moment because they basically say like, we never really wanted you to do this. Like it just so happened. It just, and she's like, it's my destiny. Like what else do you want me to do?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cute. And then everybody else has kind of all these like moments. They're closing up all the storylines because like everything's done now. So Robin and Theo have a quick moment and he decides that he's going to stay in Greendale. So now we know he's going to like kind of stick around as like a character for next season. Mm-hmm. Harvey and Roz have a moment where they finally like say, I love you. And then they finally have sex. Like they finally fuck.
Do they actually? Like, is it signed, sealed, and delivered? They actually fuck?
I am making the assumption that like, it cuts to them like making out really hard and then like it's happening. So I know that you mentioned before that you wanted Sabrina to like get her cherry popped by him.
Yeah.
But it looks like he's going to already have like, I thought it was going to be both of them like losing their virginity to each other. But it looks like he's going to like have sex with Roz, obviously. So like they're done. How do you feel about that dynamic? Do you feel like it still could happen with Sabrina?
Yeah, I definitely think it could still happen. I just think for the purpose of the finale, they needed to wrap things up with him and Roz because like Sabrina was doing her own thing with hell, so like they couldn't really get him to go to her, and plus she did the thing spell right with the candles. Right. Yeah. So like, it's true. Who knows what the like consequences of that spell is going to be next season? I'm excited to see what they do with that. Yeah. But no, it was fine. Made sense.
So cutting to another thing that made sense and was really, really cute. Hilda, like I said, thinks that Cerberus is dead at this point. So she goes downstairs to say goodbye to his body. And he's like coming out of the
he's like, unwrap
webs.
Me.
He's like, oh, what the hell? And she's like, oh my God, it didn't kill you. I actually just like put you to sleep and like wrapped you up for like a snack a little later. And he's like, of course I'm a little snack.
I'm a little snack. See,
they're so cute.
And they're so cute. And of course I never want anything to happen to him and to their relationship. I love them together. But again, like right when you think like they've actually fucking killed someone off the show, you're like, yo. They're like, oh no, he was just he was like just sitting in the cocoon. Like he was good. I'm like, okay. Like when a show does this, you know, for the future, it always feels like they're never gonna go there, and so you're never really feeling scared or like there's gonna be a risk taken because they're clearly not doing it. Like they killed one person this season, that's it.
Yeah.
So
and like to your point, it's really interesting because it totally breaks the one like you and B always say where it's like if I don't see the death on screen, then it didn't really happen. Like we saw so many deaths on screen and none of them technically happened. The one death that actually stuck, we never saw it on screen.
Yeah, that's
we're
so
now
true.
Supposed to assume that like she's actually dead, and it does leave like a very like empty feeling in your stomach, being like that didn't feel like it panned out the way that it was supposed to pan out. Yeah, it does kind of suck. But yeah, it's just interesting that it went that way, and I was like, this totally breaks all of NB's rules, like the fact that she died off screen.
Totally.
Anyway, so she's happy, Hilda's happy, so I am glad about that. You're right, it wasn't high stakes. Like it was high stakes in that moment. I really did think he was dead, so we got 2 episodes to mourn him, and then he came back to life, and I was like, okay, I'm happy that like they have their moment. Like I want to see a wedding still. I'm really excited for them. So then it cuts to Prudence and Ambrose. Ambrose is at home and Prudence comes to visit, and she's like, well, just letting you know that we found Dorcas's body in the dungeons. Like she's dead. She was killed by Agatha. And she's like having a little breakdown, and she basically says like, if we kill Blackwood when we could have in Scotland, maybe all of this wouldn't have even happened. And she blames Ambrose directly and says like, you're the one that told me not to kill him. It's your fault. And that's it. So that's when they like break up. She's like, fuck this, I'm out.
I mean, it was such a powerful scene, and like And it was really emotional. Like it almost got me, like I almost started to cry, because the only reason why she would be hurt by him is literally this reason. Like,
yes, exactly.
You know, she goes, I was gonna kill him and you fucking stopped me, and now look what happened. I lost my sister and all this other stuff. But her, like, the pain that you see in her eyes, like, I'm like, oh my god, like, this is always gonna be a point of
contention for them,
or something, like, in their relationship, even if they get back together next season or whatever. Like, she's always gonna feel like he done fucked her up because of this moment.
Yes, 100%. So she dips, she's over it, and I'll talk about this now because it does like keep cutting back and forth, but she ends up back at the academy. She sees Nick kind of sitting on the steps by himself, all lonely. And so they kind of console each other because she's broken, he's broken, he's alone, she's alone. And they just like start talking. How do you feel about a new rising couple for next season?
I don't mind. I didn't mind it. I think that they naturally come together because of what they've just gone through in this episode, and like they're really both like kind of sexual, and like they're like horny as like fuck, and like I can see that attraction. I don't see them like having like this crazy bond, but I do feel like them getting together is definitely gonna hurt Ambrose and Sabrina, and like it's just gonna be more tension.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. So then it cuts to Zelda and Marie talking in the house, and she basically explains like where they're at now. So Marie's like, so what are you guys, who are you, like who are you worshiping? And Zelda says, we're the Order of Hecate now. We're worshiping the 3-in-1, which is like I forget what it is, it's like the hag, the something. And Marie keeps saying, she's like, I'm glad that you guys are like back together or whatever, but I think that you need to hone in on all of your like crew now, because I feel an even darker force coming, and you need to now harness your coven's power and prepare them for a war. And so like Zelda, they're just both talking, and like it's just an intense scene, and Zelda's like, so does that mean that you're gonna stay? And Marie's like, yeah, if you'll still have me. And she's like, so she's they like, fucking make out.
Okay guys, legit, if you want to talk about what the F moment, like the degree of like how like my jaw dropped in this moment. I was on the subway watching this on like public transport, and my head, like my neck like popped out, and my jaw was like, what? Because I didn't see it coming at all. I was like, wait, what?
Full gagged. I was gagged.
Like, I didn't see it coming. Like, they didn't once give each other like googly eyes. Like, they didn't like once like check each other out. Nothing. Like, it was totally platonic. And then all of a sudden it turns to this kiss. Like, I did love it, but I was like, it legit came out of fucking nowhere.
Fully nowhere. It definitely didn't make like 100% sense. But now that I'm watching it back, you do notice that, like, you know, she always like looks at Marie and is like, especially in the very beginning, she was like, who are you to come in? So she got territorial specifically on Marie, not any of the other witches.
No, and I think it's like this power, like they're both very powerful women, and so there's like that attraction between the two of them already.
Right.
Like I can see it that way maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, and also we have to remember, like, witches are different. Like, they said it from the beginning, witches have like a different energy. Like, there's no such thing as like straight, gay, whatever. Like, they're all just like, they love energy. No, they love like people, whatever.
That's totally fine.
You know?
I just wish they had a scene somewhere along the way where like even when she was trying to heal Zelda, if she like touched her in a certain way or like looked at her in a certain way, like I would have been like, ooh, like, is she down for her? And like whatever. But there was nothing like that. So like, just for them to kiss, I was like, oh, like there was something this entire time, but like I didn't see it. Like I just wish they had built it up a bit more.
I almost feel like even in that moment, Zelda was like, oh shit, what am I doing? Like, oh sick, like I guess I'm kissing her now. You know what I mean? Like it was just like a shock for the entire group of people, including the audience. It was such a great moment. I loved it. The lack of setup and the fact that it just kind of came out of nowhere really worked for me, at least like in that moment. So I was like, this is great. So back in hell, she has to like dip, and she needs to like go down there and like switch places. So she doesn't go back into hell and switch places. Does she? Yes. So in this moment, she goes back down, but she goes back as the current Sabrina, the one that we saw from the very beginning of the episode. So the one who's like done doing all of this, she goes down in her little like hood again, and she stops another Sabrina. So now there's, correct me if I'm wrong, she says to that Sabrina, don't go and talk to Judas. It's actually Caliban, and he's going to switch that shit. So don't go over there into that corner. And then she said, actually, maybe what you should do is switch places with me. So you can rule above and I can rule down here. Because like I want to stay down here and have power as Queen of Hell. And you want to go up and like be a regular teenager. It works out perfectly for us. But it is a little confusing because I think they did mention that the 9th circle of hell is in its own, Ambrose called it like a time pocket. Like basically things keep happening over and over again in that space. I don't know exactly what that meant, but she goes back into a time where she's not yet in the wall, which I was a little confused by. Do you know what I mean?
Was so confused by this.
Because at that point in time, she could have gone and waited for her to go into the wall and then switch places with her. But then I was like, what? Anyway, I feel like maybe that's what would have happened, but I just got confused. I was like, this is too much. So she does decide like that's going to happen. She's like, let me just take care of one thing. She goes over to the wall. She's about to give the thing to Judas, and then she stops it, and she's like, I know it's you, Caliban, get the fuck out of here. And she like freezes him into the rock forever, and then she like disappears. And then so Sabrina goes back to like the regular level, and she's like, I won the regalia, here's the last coins, and she's about to get coronated, or she gets coronated. It's a very long scene, and it cuts back and forth between different scenarios, but she gets crowned Queen of Hell. She's wearing like fucking Queen Elizabeth outfit. But how do we feel about her now being Queen of Hell? How do you feel?
Well, I don't mind it, but the way fucking Ambrose was glitching out at the end, I was like, what's like, I guess something's really gonna happen. Like something bad's really gonna happen.
Some shit's gonna go down. Yeah, for sure. Did you notice Wardwell? Like I was trying to pay close attention to Wardwell's face the entire time, where I guess like Lilith, Madam Satan. Do you think that she was cheesed, or was she like, okay, Sabrina, like you're gonna be Queen of Hell now? Like
I don't know. I don't know how to feel about her. I feel like she doesn't even know what side she's on right now. Like she's literally carrying like the son of Satan, right?
True.
So I do feel like she's still like, Sabrina's my chick, but like I also am carrying like a son of Satan, so like I'm gonna get lit soon too. So yeah, I definitely feel like next season I can see the devil and her like becoming like the villains of the season.
Right. Makes sense. They're
what do you
devils.
think?
I was kind of confused about like what their relationship is now and how it stands, because you're right. Now she has a child, so she doesn't have to form a relationship with Sabrina. But at the same time, now Sabrina's technically the Queen of Hell. So is she going to try to dethrone her? Is she going to try to kill her? Like, I actually would not be surprised if Lilith at some point in time tries to take hold of Hell and kills the Hell Sabrina without realizing that Sabrina is like fine and alive on the top part.
Yeah,
like,
that'll be really good.
Maybe like they'll end up leading like separate lives, and some shit will happen to one of them or either of them, and then the other one has to come back to like fix everything out.
I like that.
So anyway, so that happens. She's coronated back at the Spellman house. She comes back and she's like, oh hey, just like figured I don't want to be there anymore. Like, I just want to spend time with my family. And they're like, okay, cool. And Ambrose, this is when Ambrose like kind of calls her out, and he's like, okay, like what the fuck is going on? Like he takes her aside and he's like, you've been acting so weird ever since we went back. Like that whole thing happened before the even pagans thing. He's like, something that I don't know, and I need to know. And so basically she explains the whole thing, that there's another version of herself down in hell leading hell. And he's like, you basically created a time paradox.
He's like, do you even know what you're doing? Do you even know what you just did? I can't believe what you did. I'm like, what did she do? Like, tell me more. Like, I hate when they do that. Like, he's freaking the fuck out, and he's not saying like, what are the consequences though? Right. Like, why are we freaking out?
I mean, I think the freak out is the fact that she used time travel to create a second version of herself that is now creating another future, or like something is already happening. Like she's creating a new present using another body. So I understand what he's saying. Like it does create something like a time paradox, which means that whose storyline is going to continue now that both of them are still alive leading hell. She's like, if either of them find out, like if your aunts find out that there's another version of you in hell, or if Lilith finds out that you're still up here, then like everything's going to go to shit. Like it's going to fall apart. I think even telling him might have changed something, because at the very end of their storyline, they're sitting at the table and the clock falls onto the floor, and she's like, oh, okay, so and he's already alluding like shit's gonna go down, you fucked something up, like we're just gonna wait to see how that goes down, basically. And then we have the final scene in the Greenwood Forest, and Blackwood has now taken the kids and the egg. So as we mentioned, we already talked about it, but there doesn't really make any sense how he got the egg and the kids if they were all hanging out at the house the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like the question that I said is, are we to assume that he went in there after they all went and killed all the pagans? Like it's a very, very weird plot hole. But like you said, if we don't get that kind of covered later, then it'll be pretty sad and pretty disappointing that the show didn't cover that hole up, because you're right, that is basically the impetus for the rest of next season. Like he's going to be one of the main villains, I guess, because what he does in this moment is he releases the egg on the like table, and Agatha's like, Father, what have we birthed? And he says, the beginning of the end, Agatha, the end of the Spellmans, the end of all things. And then he has this like maniacal laugh, and then the whole episode ends and the season is over.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything is kind of all set up for the next season, except for this big weird thing that happened with Blackwood. I am intrigued. I don't know how I feel about like a creepy monster running around, and like what does that entail, especially if it has to do with time travel. I'm gonna like lose my shit, like if it's gonna get complicated.
Is there a possibility that like he's still stuck in his baddie bat like dream?
See, I thought about that too, but then I was like, but in this current timeline, she didn't do the baddie bat thing. Do you know what I mean? Unless we're still just watching his nightmare, the fact that he's like still living his own crazy.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. But I don't know if they would go that far. I don't know if that makes any sense. Yeah, I'm not sure.
If they really don't want to go through with that storyline, they could totally just write it off like that. Like it was part of his dream. Fully.
Yeah, fully. Like if they just want to like kind of do like a different direction for next season.
100%.
But
yeah.
I do feel like these guys are a little smarter than our regular writers. I won't mention any other shows, but I think that they know that they did it. I just want to see how they're going to like maneuver the answer for us, because I think it's going to be important to get why this happens. Yeah, that is the episode. That was the season. What a good season.
Yeah, it was really well done. I think they did a great job with connecting everything as much as they could. You could tell that they covered up their loopholes. You know, they were really smart about their writing, and I appreciated that. No, it was a good season. It was really good.
Yeah, it was very good. Let's get into our recap roundups.
Recap roundups.
Best moment.
What was your best moment?
My best moment, it's, you know, I think the whole episode was really, really impressive. Like really, it was really good. But I think my best moment is the moment with Prudence and Ambrose, because I do feel like they really linked the consequences of like what Ambrose did all the way at the beginning of the season, and like all the things that happened because of that. Right. She was like, but you did that still, and like look what happened now. And so it just makes me feel like the world is more real and the world is more connected because certain things that happen in the beginning, you know, have consequences at the end. And just seeing her face, and like, I think she's an amazing actress. I love the two of them together. And like, they were hot all season, and now they're like, you know, broken up. And I'm like, I can't wait to see how they sort of come back together next year, you know?
Yeah, fully. Yeah, that's a good point. I really did like them together. It was a really good moment too, to see how you know, it all kind of fell apart, even though they were so solid the entire season.
For sure. And I think like even past their, because, you know, they love to like fuck, but like clearly their relationship is way more than a physical connection. Like, to see her be like, like to see her be like, I trusted you, like you fucked me over, I should have killed him, and look what he did now. Like, it's just a different level of hurt that I think you would only really put onto someone who like you're like in love with, like you're completely you know, in love with this person. So it was cute.
Yeah, loved it. My best moment is gonna go to Hilda taking her revenge on Cersei. That was like the best moment for me, because I wanted to see that happen ever since, you know, she goes and turns into a spider, and fucking like her whole storyline was so sad this season, and for her to take the revenge that she needed to like make herself feel better, like this. And it's not just like Sabrina, who's like usually pretty ruthless, like it's fucking Hilda, who's like the nicest person ever. So for her to go this far, you know that she like fucking was in pain, and so like it was just
she loves the guy, right? Like she's like,
it was a really sick moment to see her like take that revenge and like snap her neck and shit. I was like, get it, girl.
And she like legit dealt with that shit all season, pretty much. So
it's hard.
Long time coming. WTF moment.
What was your WTF moment?
I think it was the same moment as yours, with Zelda kissing Marie.
Fully.
Because I just feel like I was like, what? Like, it was really
did not
shocking.
see that coming. If you want to say WTF moment, definitely like what the fuck is happening here? Like, considering this whole episode was about time travel and it could have got us confused, that could have been our what the fuck, but it was literally like Zelda kissing fucking Marie. We're like, that's the what the fuck moment of this episode for sure. That came out of nowhere. But I'm also very excited to see this like power couple potentially come forward. And I like I said, I think in the very beginning, especially when they introduce brand new characters, I'm always worried about what their intentions are. I hope they still maintain her as like a good person, like throughout the rest of the show. Like, I think we're out of the woods and assuming that she is a bad character, like she's a villain, but we'll see. I always worry about guest stars because they're either gonna die, leave, or be evil, you know, or
like,
I mean?
And her intentions can definitely change throughout next season.
That's a good point too. And like they practice different magic. She's voodoo. How's that gonna change? Like, it'll be interesting to see what gets adopted. It's a brand new coven. Like, I'm just excited to see what they're gonna do with the whole season next season.
MVP.
Who's your MVP?
I'm gonna give it to Sabrina. You know, I think she obviously saved the freaking universe. I think she needed two versions of herself to do that. She couldn't do it with just herself, but
she did it with herself and herself.
Yeah, like she still saved the world. She time traveled, so I'm gonna give it to the girl.
Yeah, it's her name on the show, so like I'll take that.
Yeah.
But I like going back to what I said about Hilda. I'm giving it to Hilda for sure, just because of like how she just strengthened up and was able to like do what she did. I loved her moment this episode. But also just as an overall, I do want to give it to the writers too. I think that they did a fantastic job this season. I was very pleasantly surprised at how much I enjoyed the season, considering one, these episodes are very long, and two, it's a show about magic, and magic can get very, very hokey. It can get very, very like cheesy a lot in a lot of shows, that I was just impressed that they like maintained the line that they maintain when it comes to a comic book show about magic. Do you know what I mean? Like, it didn't get to the point where I was like, oh my God, what a fucking boring like thing. Or the weirdest moments were probably the musical moments, but they did those on purpose. So I'm like, okay, I'll give you those. But they wrote it so well. Outside of that one little plot hole that we talked about already, everything made sense. Like the character development, considering how large the cast is, they did a fantastic job. Like, they didn't leave anyone out that we talked about outside of maybe Dorcas, who just fucking got killed off. Another plot hole that I was a little disappointed about. But outside of those two, I was like impressed by their season for sure.
Yeah.
Well done, guys.
Well done.
LVP.
Who's your LVP?
LVP, I'm gonna give it to the devil himself. I think I said this a couple episodes ago too. I feel like he hasn't done anything, like legit, like
agreed.
Like other than like separating himself from
so
Blackwood,
waste.
which I don't get why it took him so long to do that, because he's the fucking devil.
Yeah.
Like he's done nothing all season, and like all this shit's been going on, and he still hasn't played any part in any of it. Like he was
true.
nowhere to be found in the season finale. So
yeah,
it's just kind of like, okay, like you're not even that scary, dude.
Yeah, it's that you're definitely right. He definitely didn't play like the role that we were expecting him to play this season, but at the same time I was like, there really wasn't a place for him. Like,
but there kind of was though. Like I wish Sabrina could go up to him to be like, look, I got this issue, what do I do? Like, even though he's still the devil and he's still evil, I wish that there was still some sort of dynamic between the two of them where he could be like, you should go like do this, you should do this.
True.
Like that would have been really cool to see. I don't know.
He did give advice wherever he could, but like they weren't always on the same side the entire time. Like like his storyline was a little wonky this season for sure. My LVP is gonna go to Agatha. I was just bummed that she just became a villain. Like she just followed.
Yeah.
She's like following Blackwood now. They didn't really dive too deep into like how she came to that conclusion where she has been betrayed by her coven or whatever. They do it for like 5 seconds in one of the episodes where he like appears to her and he's like, look what they're doing to you. They're like treating you like shit.
And she's like instantly converted.
Yeah, she like just converts right away. It was like all those years and then you fucking kill your sister of how many years just because you've gone crazy for one episode. Like I was a little bummed about that. And I do love her as an actress too. I think she's like a beautiful, talented actress. And I'm just sad that the weird sisters are all like kind of disjointed right now, and it just like makes me sad that we have to come to terms with the fact that Dorcas is actually dead. Like Prudence is all depressed. Like I don't know. I like their unit. It's almost like, to me, it's almost like breaking up the Josie and the Pussycats. Yeah, like that's how I feel. So anyway, we'll see how that goes for next season.
The best line.
What was your best line?
My best line, I just read this piece in an article and I want to discuss it with you quickly. It's the part where Ambrose is like kind of freaking out at Sabrina at the end, and he goes, the ramifications of this are horrifying at best. He says, not to mention Lilith would definitely notice that something is up. And then that leads the writer to write about Sabrina's total lack of concern is very characteristic of the girl she was several episodes ago. And I'm sorry to say that none of the experiences she had in the interim have made her a more mature or thoughtful individual. And
true,
it's so fucking true. Like she again is just the girl from last season. Like you haven't learned anything, girl, in this entire season. Like you're just gonna be like, well, anyway, I checked everyone.
Yeah.
And I know the writer's gonna be like, but that's Sabrina. But you can't do that. Like she is growing. She's like,
she needs growth.
She needs to learn like along the way. And the writer's right here. Like the writer of this review. Like it's like she basically ignored everything she went through this season and is still the young, immature girl that she was. So it's like, where are we left now in this season finale?
Yeah, 100%. Like she doesn't really get the character development that she deserves, and she shrugs off her problems as if it's not going to create full chaos in another episode. She already knows how important she is, and she like done fuck this shit up anyway. You're right. Like it's true though. I will say that like the writers would probably just defend her and say, well, she's Sabrina, she's the central character, she's like the Archie of this show, right? Like Archie does dumb shit all the time, and people just have to kind of react to it. And it's like, it's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. This is her adventure of doing some dumb crazy shit, so we just kind of have to follow it and hope that, you know, they develop her character in different ways, which I feel like they have. And that's the thing, like a part of me does agree with what you're saying and what the writer said, but at the same time I'm like, I don't know, like she broke up with Nick and she had her powerful moments, so she is growing in different ways.
That's true. That's true.
All of like she's not growing in all of the ways we're expecting her to grow. Like she's a teenage high school student. Like she's never gonna be like this wise sage. She's gonna keep making mistakes over and over and over again until she figures it out. Like time paradox, she's never dealt with it, so like I can understand that she's not she's not,
I guess, like,
she doesn't know how to approach it.
Even if it was like her tone in that last moment, like, nah, you're right, maybe, okay, I'll deal with it. Like, I'll deal with it when it comes up next year. She was like, nah, whatever. Yeah. I was like, okay, well, obviously it's gonna come back to bite you, so get ready.
No, it's true. Yeah, it's true. She should at least be prepared for something to go wrong.
Like just sound like you have a plan. Like, just sound like you have a plan. That's all we're asking.
Because it's true. Like, if season 4 episode 1, she's like, I don't know what's happening. I'll be like, bitch, are you fucking serious right now? Like, you know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. My best line is gonna go to when Zelda throws that whole like seance or whatever to bring Hilda back, and she says, we're descendant of all maidens, mothers, and crones, and so we call on the 3-in-1. We call on witches stretching back from the beginning of time to the end of days. We call on ourselves, the power that we have been denied. Imbue us with them, Hecate, and we shall pray to you morning, noon, and night, and we shall live to honor thy 3 faces, thy 3 forms. And then like she pops out of the ground. It was just such a powerful moment. The acting on this was on fucking point. Miranda Otto killed it. Like her little monologue when she says we call on ourselves, I got shivers down my spine just thinking about how because this show really, like, and we've said this many times this season and throughout this whole show, that they really do push the fact that this is a very female driven cast. It's about a female witch and how she's trying to like rise above the oppression of humanity and which kind, and this is an amazing moment to see that like the sisterhood, this coven is coming back together, and they're now going to praise another strong female character, like this Hecate goddess. And it was beautiful to see like how everybody banded together to like get Hilda back. It was a really cool moment for sure. And that is it, guys. Few announcements. We have our contest going on right now for a chance to win a Amazon gift card and pop socket. To enter, just rate, comment on our iTunes page and you'll be entered in the draw. We're extending this contest to the end of Riverdale season 4. So I know that this podcast is ending, but if you want to know who wins, then just keep listening to our Riverdale podcast and make sure you guys are commenting to enter. I'd like to take this time to thank our patrons of the episode, our Rewinder squad, White, Nicole, Faith, Lit Rewinders, Tina Ann, Sarge, Serena, Soleil, Kate, and Jessica, and our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah, Tamala, and Grace.
Thanks, guys. And if you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind. If you join, you get access to all things Recap Rewind, exclusive contests, content, and updates.
And also make sure you guys are checking us out on all of our socials, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. You can also find us on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. Thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.
Bye.